This conference will now be recorded.
All right. Okay, we're going to try to get started here. Where's my video at? I've got the video on. I'm not sure everybody can just see the wrong screen right now. Give me a second here to fix up the screen. I wanted to get my picture on there.
You're still sharing your screen, so just take your screen share off.
It's all right. Okay, there it is. Okay, wonderful. We'll figure all this out. So, welcome tonight. Welcome to the one of our last public forums for the year. This one is set for wards 1 and 2. As we have done in the past, we do have we've been asking for questions off the Survey Monkey, and so we've got about 3 questions I think out there off the Survey Monkey that we're going to cover for those. For those of you that are joining us in person, if you have any questions, please use the chat function and add in your questions. You can start now at any point in time. Once we get through the presentation piece, it's short and sweet tonight, but once we get through the presentation piece, then we will go into any other questions that anybody has that is online that are going out there. I'm going to go ahead and move into sharing the other screen, and we'll see if we can get this all to work the way it is supposed to. All right, and again, welcome tonight for our virtual public forum for the wards 1 and 2. Here's a list of the questions that we've received over SurveyMonkey over the last couple weeks. And the first 2, they're lumped in 2 different sections as to how we received them. But the first one, of course, why isn't there a concern for liability if people get sick or die from COVID-19? Because the city is putting everyone at higher risk by not enforcing the state orders like mask wearing. And then this individual goes on, and there are dangers from not enforcing the state orders, liability of being sued if people get sick and die because it is a foreseeable event, negligent of citizens' health. We'll cover those 2 topics at the same time. And then we also had the questions of when is North Washington scheduled to be properly repaved? And how does the city manage obstructed stop signs in the neighborhoods? And we'll cover that as well too. And I'm going to try to walk you through the website so that you can see and find where it's at. So from that point, we'll continue on. Okay, as we talk about the questions of response for COVID-19, I will tell you that the city is proactive within its approach. We are out there. We will enforce all the laws. We will assist with the state mandates as far as all that. But what the city of Roswell believes in is personal responsibility and the need for those that are more cautious of this pandemic to be very careful with how they interact and how they walk through that. So we want to make sure that we share that it's the personal responsibility that is so important to us, making sure that you wash your hands, that you cover your sneezes, cough, sneezes. If you're sick, stay home, avoid close contact, clean and disinfect your surfaces, cover your nose and mouth with a mask when around others, and monitor your health daily. Those are all personal responsibilities, and we believe that if you follow those, then that'll keep everybody else a little bit safer within that structure. As far as the liability, you know, that structure, there's a lot of different things to worry about within the pandemic, and we want to make sure that we're putting out the education. We believe that the education of our people is probably the predominant thing that is going to help us get through the pandemic quicker, rather than all of the enforcement actions. You've seen within the WHO organization, the World Health Organization, talking about the benefits of quarantine and whether or not they are actually doing more harm than good. We keep a track on the CDC guidelines as far as what we're all learning about this virus as we move through this thing. And of course, we do watch the governor. She had a press conference today, and so we do keep an eye on that information coming from the state, and we try to commingle it all together into our response. And it comes back to these very simple guidelines for just keeping yourself safe. And we believe that the city is best suited to help make sure we get the educational material out there so that each of you can do what you need to do in order to keep your family safe. That's about all I have on those two questions listed there. The questions as it relates to North Washington, how it matches on the list, and then some of the questions on the fix-it form and the need for obstructed stop signs. I wanted to share this with you. This came from our engineer, Louis Nahar. This is the proposed fiscal year 21 pavement maintenance and improvement program. For those of you that may not remember, we went through a big inspection inventory of all of our streets to determine the best to the worst as far as where our streets are. We broke them down by block. We went through all of that exercise. We're still working through that data to try to build a plan that everybody can kind of be looking at for the next 5 to 10 years as to where we're going. But short of having that right now, again, this list of pavement maintenance and improvement programs, these are the areas that we're planning on tackling right now. And that is Sunset, Walnut to McGaffey, Sunset, Poe to Brasher, North Gardens, Second to Cherry, South Washington, McGaffey to Alameda. And then we have a list of this, and this is our base program. We have heat in place. We're going to spend about $600,000 for the heat in place. And if you haven't seen exactly what happens there, it's essentially a train of trucks that go through. They heat up the material, they chew it all up, and then they replace it right back into place. What that heat in place does, it's less expensive than a whole mill and resurface of our streets, and we can get additional streets fixed and repaired in order to get it done. And it expands out. It increases our ability to stretch our dollars that we're spending on everything a little bit farther. We have the Micro 3, which is the micro projects, and we come back and we do a micro surface over those heat in place. And for those of you, because we're talking with wards 1 and 2, if you look at the Country Club project on the east side, we did some of that work there, and then we came back after the heat in place. We came back with a micro surface, and it puts a nice, easy top on it. We topped that up as well with the Nova chip, and then of course we are planning on doing about $2.3 million worth of mill and fill, which is again we're going to take off the top base of that asphalt and then replace it with new asphalt. So our total base program of pavement maintenance and improvement program for this fiscal year is right at $4.2 million. As we go into this is an optional group of mill and fills, and you can see that this is, I have the streets listed here that I received from our engineer. East McGaffey from Maine to Garden, East McGaffey from Garden to Atkinson to Montana, West Hobbs from Southeast Maine to Sunset, West Country Club, Maine to Montana. And when you take both of these slides together, the city is investing about $7 million into street maintenance in this next fiscal year. That includes the base and the optional list. We average about 7 million. I don't think we've put less than 5 million in a year. We've been averaging right around the $6 to $7 million each year for the last few years. But when we go back and we talk about the inventory, the inspection inventory that we did with our streets, we know that we're going to need to be doing a little bit more than even the 7 million on those streets. And that is something that the infrastructure committee is working on with our engineer, trying to determine exactly what we can fit into the budget, where we can kind of go with that for our street program. Of course, with our street program, that includes the sidewalk maintenance, and that includes parkways and all that stuff within those right-of-ways. And so we want to get that number up a little bit higher. We are looking at general obligation bonds. We're looking at a lot of different ways in order to generate the funds for that. I think it was something to be said for the city council that we kept our street programs at $7 million for this next fiscal year, even though we cut the budget by $31 million in order to kind of bring it into check with our with what we anticipate our revenue will be through this next year. And so that's the nice thing. I think what the city council did is they recognize the importance of the streets, and they want to make sure that we don't fall backwards on it, because we believe that 7 million is actually just kind of holding us above water. This does not include, this is all city money that we're talking about here. This does not include also the projects that our engineer works with DOT for the state controlled highways and such like that. We have other projects out there that are going through to do some of that work, and it's usually a match program between the state and the city. And so we'll package that together as well too. Generally, the DOT doesn't fit within our budgetary time frame as well too. So we're always constantly moving those dollars around to try to make sure that we're hitting all those marks. For those of you that have just joined us, this is a fairly short public forum right now, I think, based upon the number of questions. If you do have any questions that you want to ask, you're welcome to start using the chat function now as we walk through that. We covered some of the concerns of some individuals with the COVID-19 response, and then of course we covered the street projects. I'm going to walk you through, and then we're going to try to jump out of the presentation, because the last item, the topic that came up, and I should go back, the question that was asked from out of the Survey Monkey was, when was North Washington going to be on the list? At this time, it is not on the list. You did see part of Washington on the list, but as far as the North, because of the condition of, we're using a condition inventory, we have not scheduled out North Washington yet for that purpose. The last question that we did receive off of Survey Monkey was from a driver's ed teacher, and they're driving around, student drivers, and so they're in all the neighborhoods practicing driving, and they're finding obstructed stop signs, that whether trees have overgrown in the area, whether there's blockage within the sight triangle on the corners and everything. And I wanted to draw everybody's attention back to the fix-it form, or you can just call the city. If you call the city, we just need to know where the issue is, because if we have our opportunity, we'll try to find it. And we do have crews out there, but they may not find it as quick as somebody that is driving the area. And so with that, I wanted to bring up the city's website really quickly. And I believe we can get there. Okay, so here's our new renovated website. It's been overhauled, and it's got new features to it. So if you go on to roswell-nm.gov, you'll come up with this screen here. You can see over to the right side, we have the buttons for all the social media pieces. And then in the middle here, we have six different sections. If you go into the city of Roswell, the first tab there, and click on that, that'll bring up the city's governmental website. And it has all the information there. It has all the city services, city government, the residents, business and development, and how do I. If you click on the how do I, you can look down over on the side where it says submit, and you go down to the second item there, and that says concerns, fix it form. That is one way to get there. You could type into the search section, fix it form, and it'll find it there as well. Or you can come down off the website a little bit, and right over here on the left side, there's a tab that is called fix it form. If you click on that fix it form tab, it'll open up the screen, the form center for the fix it form. And if you look down through there, there's a set of information to put in there. We like to have the contact information because I know it was mentioned at our last public forum, that it'd be nice to know who's submitting the questions, because if you're not online and hearing the answers, the city would like to be able to reach out to you and provide you a better answer or a full answer. That way you don't have to go back, or if you're not able to be online at the time. But the fix-it form itself looks for a bunch of contact information. We want to know who you are and everything, so that we can, if we don't take care of the problem right away, or we have additional questions, because what happens with the fix-it form when it's filled out, it goes directly to the department that we believe is the ones that will handle the issue. And so it goes through a couple different hands before it gets to the right people. So if there are any follow-up questions, we want to make sure that we take care of it as promptly as possible. But you can see that, I mean, you can use the fix-it form for everything from even an issue that if you're not even sure that it is a city issue, you can use the fix-it form and we'll help direct that information. And again, that's another reason why we'd like your information, so that if it is not a city issue to manage, we would like to make sure that we told you who we contacted and who's going through that. But as you go down through this, you just fill out this information, you give a brief description of what the problem is and the location of the problem. So as it relates back to the SurveyMonkey question that was requested, how do we turn in these obstructions that are within the that are blocking a stop sign? You just have to fill out the brief description, give us the location of the problem. We'll send our crews out and we will inspect it, and then we'll help assign it to the proper individuals in order to get it taken care of. But you can see on some of these check mark boxes, there's traffic and road signs, there's overhanging trees and shrubs. You can find all of that information on this. And so I wanted to take just a moment and walk through the website where you can find it, because we tried to make the fix-it form very easy to find, so that you can find it, you can add the information in there and help us keep our city working properly. Going back to the PowerPoint really quickly, and then I do see we have one chat across on the screen, and we'll come back to that. But I want to reiterate again, the communication is the key to our city outreach. Again, if you have a question or wish to have a response or an explanation, you can use our email site of info@roswell-nm.gov. You can call the City Hall at 575-624-6700. Use SurveyMonkey. We do a lot of different surveys for a lot of different things. Take your opportunity to have your voice heard there. The social media, the City of Roswell government on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. I will caution everybody that if you start asking city questions on some of the sub Facebook pages, like the questions and concerns about creating a better Roswell, some of those out there, we try to watch those as closely as possible, but that is not actually reaching out to us. So you may or may not get an answer to your questions when you're out there on those Facebook pages. Please come to our page, the City of Roswell government on Facebook, if you want to get a response for any of your concerns or questions. We do watch the rest of the social media, but really we believe that part of the purpose of social media is for everybody to dialogue together, not really take care of these issues. But I wanted to make sure I shared all these different ways. And of course, the website with the fix-it form, that is another way to get information into the city so that we can kind of help outreach and try to fix these issues. So that's the end of the presentation. I'm going to try to turn off the sharing of the screen, and then we'll open the chat box. Okay, we have one chat out there on recycling and the question mark. I know that we just had an article out in the newspaper. I'll try to regurgitate some of that information and where it's going. And I know this is concerning for at least a good contingency of our people that wish to recycle. Right now, we are currently working on a franchise, what's called a franchise agreement with J&A Recycling. That recycling agreement because we have to franchise out the service if we want anybody else to operate it. What J&A will be able to do that is different than what we have been currently doing is that it would be curbside pickup. My understanding is it'll be co-mingled, and what will happen is that they'll be able to pick it up at your house, bring it to their building where they'll separate out the material, and then they'll recycle what is available for recycling. After we get J&A operating into the curbside franchise, we intend to remove all the bins that we have just scattered throughout the city. The challenge we have with that, and this has been going on for a few years. It's just, I think it's gotten more attention lately because we've been looking at changing the service. But we have a lot of contamination happening and going on in these bins, and when there's contaminated waste within the bins to a certain level, and it's a certain percentage of that, then we have to dump that load. We can no longer try to recycle that product, and I think that's where it gets disappointing for us. You know, we rely heavily upon individuals to use the service properly, and I think that we've let that get away from us as well too. When China quit taking the recycling from the United States as well as a lot of other countries back in 2018, that's what's driving the issues with recycling now is that to try to get recycling products to where it can be utilized, fiscally responsible and utilized, has now become more difficult because of the change of where this product goes. And so it gets really difficult for especially an area like Roswell, where everything that we want to recycle has to be trucked out of here and trucked somewhere in one of the larger markets in order to find a place where it can be get a value for that product back. And so we've pulled back on that recycling. I think the only concern that I have with, of course, the way our current bins are being done as well too, is that the city ratepayers that are trash service people are the ones paying for those recycling bins. And I know that there are a lot of county residents that are using those bins as well. And so we needed to find a different model anyway. We did talk for a little bit. We considered going out to our customers for that in order to do a curbside pickup of the cities in order to pick it up there. Our fear was that it was going to be a little bit more cost to our ratepayers, and we felt that I think that J&A could provide that better service and do as good a job, if not better than us. The question is that do you know what J&A will cost? I don't know where they're going to end up because I think their costs will adjust based upon their customer base as well too. I believe that right now they were around the $16 range for that curbside pickup for the people that they have been actually working with over the last couple of years. I think those seems to be about where the numbers might be at in order to do that curbside pickup. Of course, it's a labor-intensive process, and so trying to get them in there. We do know that they have a location of where they want to go. We are working with them with some of the equipment that we will no longer be using. We're really hoping that we'll be contractually all set up with them within the next couple of weeks. I want to be very careful about that, but we're going to overlap with our service for about 30 days once J&A gets up and operating, where we will take our recycling from those bins to J&A as well too. We want to make sure that this is given a good starting point and try to do that. The question, can they keep up in the alley? I think they could, whether it be curbside or not. Again, the alleyways are service corridors to pick up that, so there may be a good chance that we can work on that for where they pick up as well too. Let's see if I can get back to my train of thought a little bit here, but I think those are the biggest keys to that. what the city will continue to do, and because we will still be recycling certain materials. We've been utilizing the cardboard right now for it's been being shredded up and put in with our the limb chipping that we're doing right now. It is making a very good mulch that right now is free to citizens in Roswell. All you have to do is show up with a vehicle that can haul it, and you can pick up that mulch that you can use at your house. And so we've been shredding up the cardboard in order to put it in there, and we're finding it to be a very good substance for mulching around your trees and your flowers and such. Along with that, I know that our metal recyclers in town they're still operating. They're happy to take aluminum and metal, and so there's a lot of different pieces out there with that recycling, and we're hoping that everybody will pick up on it. I think the last thing that I will say that the city's going to do, because the city is eligible for certain recycling grants, we will try to work with everybody. We know that we're going to want to do an educational piece for that. Everything that gets diverted, the city still likes the diversion of the recycling from the landfill, because the more waste that we put into the landfill, we fill up the cells, and then we have to go to the next cell. And anymore, because of the EPA requirements for managing those cells out at the landfill, it gets a little expensive to replace them. I think right now the cell that we just opened, we should get 20 to 30 years of life out of it if nothing big changes. As the city grows or more people create more waste, and that creates more for us. But what we're hoping for is that we'll be able to keep that diversion down, and we're hoping to utilize additional services for that. The nice thing about a franchise agreement as well too is that if there is anybody else that wishes to start up a business, we can work with anybody. We can divide up. Competition is good, and the competition will help keep the cost of recycling in line with what we would hope it would cost as a user. So if you have any questions, please put them into the chat box, and we'll keep walking through those. We did complete the presentation piece of the questions that were out there. We will be posting the video out there. We are recording these, and so we will post them so that if you want to catch up, you'll be able to do that. I noticed that we have a couple other individuals that have just joined us, and so I apologize that we've gotten through most everything already. I will tell you that for the future, we are planning out a few extra forums that we have not notified the public on as well too, and that is based upon some of the questions that we've received over the course of the Survey Monkey and collecting them up. One that comes up quite often that we know that we'll be having in the near future, I hope, is one on crime. What we have seen through everything that happens, I think the chief has some insight that I would like to make sure that the neighborhoods are all aware of, because we need your help in order to help correct the crime. I think 70 to 80% of our crime is related to drug traffic and drug trade. And so I think that's where we picked up with the canine animals as well to try to reduce that. But everything ties around, and there's cause and effect with everything. The drug crime, of course, ties back to some of the petty crimes where cars are broken into, homes are broken into, and such. And so I would like to get the chief online. Maybe we'll do a Q&A with the chief for that, and he can provide some of that insight of what his crew is doing out there in order to help with that. I think there's a couple other items we want to get out there. I know everybody, one of our primary issues that we have out there is street maintenance and street improvements. And so we will want to get more information out there so that you can participate in those conversations, because we're going to have to dedicate enough money in order to get that done and keep our streets operable and with that. So I'm not seeing any other questions come up on the chat channel, and I'll give just a couple minutes more if there are any further questions with this. Otherwise, you can go back and watch this. The questions that we did receive were on COVID-19 response, and then there was some questions on street improvements and when we would be getting to how we deal with when we find there's problems out there. So I'm not seeing any other chat questions, so we will. We've been on for about a half an hour now. Please come back, reach out to us, drop me an email, call the city hall, anything that you need. Please let's have the communication, let's have the conversation. We believe that that'll help us in order to help serve you. If we don't have full answers right away, I know that we've got enough people here that can help pull that information together. So I want to thank Ward 1 and 2 for their public forum tonight. And we're coming kind of down to that tail end of this. So yeah, at any point in time, just outreach and let us know. So other than that, I'll regurgitate everything if we wanted to stay on for another half an hour. Thank you for your time tonight, and have a great, safe weekend. Take care.